Welcome to Fantasy Smack Talk. This is your Week 8 waiver wire, heading into the halfway point of the fantasy season. Before we get into the waiver wire stuff, a few things. Thank you to our sponsor, mybookie.ag. You know, if your fantasy teams aren't doing well or you're just looking for a little bit more action, go ahead and click on the link in the description. Check them out. Use the promo code SMACK. Get up to 100% sign-up bonus because they're the most trusted sportsbook on the web, so check them out. Couple other things, I shoot these before the Monday night game, so keep that in mind. And also, we did a poll last week to try to get a gauge on what type of leagues people are in. So because I ranked these in order of how I would pick them up in my leagues, but I play in PPR leagues. So I did the poll, and it was almost an exactly 50-50 split. 52% of people play in standard leagues, and the rest play in some sort of PPR. So I'm going to kind of split the difference, and moving forward, I'll kind of rank these based on half-point PPR league. So keep that in mind depending on what your league settings are. So I start with the pickup of the week. Now this is the guy that I think is kind of the most fun pickup, is going to get the most excitement, not necessarily the one I would pick up if everyone was available. But I'm going with Marlin Mack. You know, I think at this point, you know, with where the Colts are headed, you know, it doesn't look like Luck's coming back anytime soon. They're not winning games. Why are they going to stick with Gore? They're going to keep feeding Mack, and especially now that Turbin's gone, you know, Matt can be a little bit more involved in the passing game, and I think he's just going to slowly get more and more involved, and he could definitely be a guy that can help you down the stretch. Only on 40% of leagues. It's time to get this guy at least on your bench and just see what he can do moving forward. Let's talk about some more running backs. Latavius Murray, he looked rejuvenated week 7. He looked fresh. I'm mad because I dropped him in one league, but he's still only on 45% of leagues. I mean, a lot of people, just like me, gave up on him because he looked terrible. You know, looks like McKinnon was going to be the guy, but Murray's still getting the touches, and he looked good week 7, so he needs to get picked back up. Chris Ivory, all Fournette owners need to pick up Ivory. At this point, Ivory's one of the most high upside handcuffs in terms of just a guy where you know he's going to be getting the ball if the RB1 there goes down. So Fournette owners, you need to pick up Ivory. Let's talk about some more. Let's move on to the next 4. Dion Lewis, it looks like he might be the most valuable Patriots running back moving forward. They had all 4 of them healthy week 7. They were all kind of in the mix, but Lewis seems to be the one that they trust the most as of right now. It's a mess, but if you're desperate for a running back, out of all of them, Lewis looks like he might have the most consistent value. With the Marshawn Lynch suspension for him coming out in contact with the referee, Richard and Washington are going to be the big pickups there. If I had to pick one out of the 2, I'd go with Richard. He will be the one that gets more involved in the passing game as well. So it's going to be kind of a timeshare, but it's interesting too because Lynch hasn't been all that good. So if one of these 2 steps up, there's a chance they could definitely, you know, creep into Lynch's carries. I don't think Lynch is going anywhere, obviously, but it will be interesting to see if either of these 2 end up having value moving forward. And then Thomas Rawls, he was in the game in a lot of, you know, important situations. He did have that big fumble, but I've talked about it between him and Lacey. It still looks like Rawls is the one that's going to have the most value. Rawls was very close to getting in the end zone on multiple occasions. He had a false start where it looked like he would have gotten in the end zone if he hadn't been the one that caused the false start. But either way, out of those 2, it still looks like Rawls is the one to own. And a couple more for you. Eckler for the Chargers. Here's an interesting guy. He's the one that's kind of getting a little bit more involved in the passing game, only on 5% of leagues. There's a lot of big-name running backs on a bye week 8. They play the Patriots, playing from behind. He could, if they are playing from behind, assuming they will be playing from behind, he could be a sneaky play, definitely in deeper PPR leagues if you have some bye week issues. Shout out to our FanDuel winner for week 7, Z-I-N-N-E, Zine, however you say it. Took us down. They're going to win the t-shirt. They won the money in the tournament. And click on the link in the description. Get into this week's tournament and get in there before we open it up to the public around noon, and then it fills up real quick on Sunday morning. So get in there before to make sure you get your spot, and click on the link in the description and sign up for FanDuel if you haven't already. Help us out. We're trying to get this game to go all season long, but if we don't get more signups, more interest in the game, they're not going to let us keep doing it. So help us out. Get in there. Let's take a look at wide receivers. Ted Ginn Jr., 2 good games in a row for him. You know, it's really looking like him and Breeze are getting on the same page. He will be boom or bust, but at this point, being only owned in 55% of leagues, I think he needs to be owned in more. A couple Seattle guys for you, Lockett and Richardson. It just really looks like that Seattle offense is starting to click, especially in the passing game. So I think these two guys need more attention moving forward. Now these guys will also probably be a little bit boom or bust, but the potential will be there week in and week out. They're only owning 35% and 20% of leagues. A couple more for you. JuJu for Pittsburgh, with Martavis Bryant obviously upset with his role and not really getting involved, maybe even getting traded. It looks like JuJu's role is solidified. He had a solid week 7, and that was with the Steelers not even really throwing much in the second half. So it looks like he could have legit value for the rest of the way. And then D.D. Westbrook for Jacksonville. You know, this is a guy that they're excited about. They want to get him involved, and it's not like, you know, Lee and Hearns have really been tearing it up. There's a chance Westbrook gets involved right out of the gate and has value in the second half. So that's deeper leagues. We'll see how he does, but he will be interesting to see what he can do with them coming off of their bye. They do have a bye week 8, so keep that in mind. Quarterback, I want to talk about Tyrod Taylor, only on 60% of leagues. You know, we had more injuries at quarterback with Cutler and Carson Palmer going down. So Tyrod only on 60%. You know, I think he's definitely, for what he can do with his legs, he needs to be owned more. I'm kind of surprised he's still only on 60% of leagues. So if you're one of the teams searching for a quarterback, he's not the worst option out there. And then Beathard for San Francisco. He's got some sneaky wheels as well. He's not the fastest guy, but he has been running a decent amount. And that puts any quarterback on the map. If he's throwing in 20 to 40 rushing yards a week, you know, maybe scrambling into the end zone some like he did week 7. He's interesting, only on 10% of leagues, so he's out there in a lot of leagues. And the 49ers have really nothing to play for at this point, so they're going to be giving the young guy a run and seeing what he can do. And I think he will have some good games down the stretch. And the 49ers, I think, will get better as the season goes on. They got a lot they're trying to figure out. A couple of tight ends for you. Jared Cook out there with Oakland. You know, now that Carr's back and healthy and playing well, he puts all the pass catchers back on the map out there with Oakland. He was only owning 45% of leagues. Time to scoop him up and more. And then O.J. Howard only owning 15%. Now, he's been inconsistent, but he's starting to prove that he has huge week-to-week upside. Now, I know a lot of tight ends have been very much boom or bust, and it's frustrating, it's annoying, but his ceiling is as high as any tight end every week, so he needs to be owned in more leagues because of that. A couple of pick-up-and-play defenses for you. I got Atlanta. They're at the Jets. Over-under on mybookie.ag is 46.5, and Atlanta's 4.5-point favorites. You know, I know the Jets have been playing better, but they're still giving up a lot of points to opposing defenses. So I think Atlanta, whose defense hasn't been amazing, but they've been decent, will be a decent pick-up-and-play. And then New Orleans, owning 45% of leagues. You know, hoping for a little bit more from them week 7 going up against the Packers, but they got the Bears this week. Over-under is 48. The Saints are favored by 7.5. So if they get up in that game and Trubisky's forced to throw the ball, you know, during the second half, you got to think there could be, you know, a pick 6 mixed in there. So don't mind the Saints for week 8 for a pick-up-and-play defense. If you got questions, you want to talk trade or anything, post them in the comments. We've been answering as many as we can. We've been getting to a lot of them. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Like this video, and good luck on the wire this week.